Last class I went over the walk cycle. Wednesday we're not going to be here, just so you have the idea of getting ready for that final couple projects. We're going to be doing the animation. So for the animation part, you're going to need a video to replicate. So the best ones are fail videos or parkour videos.
Parkour.
Yep.
I know what you're thinking that episode.
Yep.
Have 360 gainer from the fridge box.
So what you want to do is find a video. So this is going to take probably should take about a half hour or so to find a good video. You want something that is short and to the point, but doesn't have a whole lot of flips. So some of these parkours where they're doing crazy flips, avoid those at all costs. Those are incredibly difficult to do, especially for your first one. Okay. Now these are neat because they have, just a cool little jump or whatever. But then if you go to the parkour fail videos.
Yes. I like when he gets the mailbox, that one.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yes, James Bond.
Whoa. And there he goes.
Wish it was
That's gonna hurt so bad.
You can only do proper parkour. Yeah, nailed it.
And then he falls. So
And there was someone down there.
yeah. So you're gonna watch probably at least 5 or 10 of these videos, and they're awesome, they're funny, they're hilarious stuff.
You could, yeah, you could
Yes.
double that.
Yes.
I found some, this one will find some very crazy.
I know, seriously.
Oh my
Obscure
god.
shit. She's good at like 2,000 view stuff. Oh, kid fails are awesome.
Yeah. Also think of the size of them. So like animating a kid is not easy to do when you have a full-blown character rig.
Yes, we did the
Yeah, you should be able to remove the joints, buddy.
Yes. She's got faith. Oh, that wasn't that good.
That wasn't.
Be able to remove the joints.
Little kids feel like sir.
Stupid.
You learn.
Then looking more
Also lots of running, lots of walking. All right, that one's cool.
Glad you did. That's all you do.
So once you find one, so let's say that I like that one because that one with the dad punching the thing was pretty
That's not
funny.
good enough. Now we're gonna keep looking
What
through.
do you have to do with brothers when they run at each other with the medicine ball and then they just like die?
They die.
That was a good description. Bet you none of that happened in the actual video. I bet you it's not a medicine ball, it's a yoga ball, and I
Yes,
bet you they
that's
don't
what I
die.
meant.
See, medicine ball, that would smash them to pieces.
I couldn't think of the word.
It's like the parkour one. I suggest we can see. Is that it?
I mean, it's similar. The one that I watched was literally 2 little kids and
Oh,
they did
2
it in
little
their
kids?
bedroom and they like Why is people getting hurt so awesome?
You're more stupid.
You get some air.
I'm just upset that people don't know how to hold a phone anymore.
Yeah. Even with the technology,
Oh my goodness.
you deserve it.
She was asking for a fail.
She needs to die. Why? Why?
Bitch is asking for it. Here it comes.
Oh, longer than I thought. Like, I'm gonna find the smallest room in my house. Try to stand on a yoga ball.
Oop. There it's gone.
There it is.
That was too much of a weight.
Oh, you should look at motion gaming fails. That
Motion gaming.
is some hilarious shit. Have you ever seen that? Like people playing Wii and Connect and the fails.
Oh, stop.
Great. People-
Oh, and they like whip the remote at the TV.
They're all different. Like with the Connect, there's no remote though. Like this one, with the
Like the Wii with the
walks
bowling
behind
and
them.
wham right through your TV.
Makes it right in the head.
Yeah.
Ready for it?
Oh man, right at the TV.
Oh. Yeah, we're
Okay,
gonna have to
can we
recall.
talk about his outfit right now?
It's
It's
probably-
really making me
it's probably
angry.
Christmas
It's
morning.
not making me. He's probably comfortable.
Oh, that sucks.
That
All right.
tiny-
Throw in two
that is
different
that seems a little
flags.
that tiny Christmas tree.
So pretending that we got one, so I'm gonna grab the one that I had with the kid punching the thing. You're gonna go to some website like KeepFit or download YouTube or whatever it's called, and we're just going to download the YouTube video. And we're just using this as a reference point. You could also record yourself doing something hilarious if you want to do that too, but it'd probably hurt. You want to grab the maximum M720p, not any of these ones that say video only. You want the max 721, so you get the biggest size file. There you go. So now it's downloading. Open download folder. And then we're going to take it in After Effects and do a little prep work because we don't need the whole video, we just need that little section. Don't try to get something too long because it won't work very good. We don't have enough time to make it like 5 minutes long. I don't need this one. I can cancel that one. Cancel that one. There we go. So I'm just going to put this on my desktop. U drive. 40 work. Character animation, movies, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to go into After Effects and bring that movie into my After Effects file. There we go. I'm going to drop it onto my new comp. And then I'm just going to go through and find that specific video. And this is, what, 16 minutes long. Holy cow, I got to zoom in. Drum, there's that one. And there it is. Alright, so I'm going to, come on. There you go. I hit Alt left bracket here to get the start of this. I'm going to go to the end. And Alt right bracket there, and then drag this back to the beginning. Then I'm just setting my work area, and then I'm just going to trim this comp. Right? So now I have a composition that is about 6 seconds, so that's pretty much like a good amount of time. We have a nice action here, the kid's punching it for a few seconds, and then Dad comes and smacks it. Now, in order for this animation to work, every piece has to be there. I can't just do the kid. I can't just do the dad. I need to do both the kid and the dad and this thing here. So obviously that adds to the complexity of what I need to do. So if I'm up for it, I can do that. If I want to just do one character, I could just do one character. It don't matter. So now what I'm going to do is make my life a little easier. And in Maya, I want to be able to go to like whatever frame this is. So basically I want to be able to look at where the kid is, like right there, let's say. Okay, so right here he's winding up. I want to know what frame this is that he's winding up. And when he punches it right there, I want to know what frame it is that he's punching it. So instead of me going through and manually clicking it to find out what frame he's at, or counting them, I'm going to add a ticker to this. So I'm going to add a new solid. I'm going to add an effect. I'm going to add time. I'm going to add text. There it is. And then time code. So you'll see this says the time code. I can set this to be just frames. So that'll make your life just a little bit easier knowing that this is frame 0 and then that is that frame. Okay. Now just to fix this frame 0 business, I'm just going to move this back one frame. And so now my beginning of this is at frame 1 like it would be inside Maya. So Maya starts at frame 1, this will start at frame 1. Okay. Then I can say composite on original is off. There's my time code. I want this to be out of the way, so I just move it to where I want this to be. I make it bigger so I can see it. And if I put it down here, I think that'll be plenty out of the way. Yep, because I don't think the dad or anyone gets over there. Cool. All right. So now I'm going to make a movie of this. I'm going to go to File, Export, add render queue. QuickTime, H264. Depending on the size of your video, you may want to resize it to a smaller size just so it's a little bit quicker to play. Shouldn't be a huge deal at that size, but just in case. You don't need the audio, so you can just ignore that audio. And I'm going to rename this to be that.
You're dealing with the character rigs that we picked for the first one?
Correct.
Okay. So we're not like modeling.
Nope. It's just animating that one.
Do you have a park rig to go with this?
I don't, but I will find something similar. So I'm rendering out the video. Now the other part that's going to help this is having the audio here too. So I don't know if there's audio. I'm assuming there is. So I'm going to hit play on this to make sure my audio is turned up. Yep. Boom. So there must not be any audio here. No, there is audio. Why aren't I hearing it? Hmm.
There's some devices turned on.
Oh, I know what it's doing. It's playing through my headset or through my microphone. There we go.
Put that in the helmet. Monkey helmet. Maybe the cabbage.
The sound effect is much better.
Yes, it is.
I don't need the sound effect at the beginning, so I'm just going to hit L, open this up, and then just set a key for the audio there, and then crank this down. There we go. Perfect. So now I'm going to export the audio out. So I go to lossless, I go to AVI, I switch this to wave. 48 is kind of overkill. I'll set it to 22. 16 is fine. Hit okie dokie. And I'll put this into my sound folder. Character. Cool. Alright, so now if I go back to Maya, I've opened up that rig that has the character sets on him. I'm going to bring the audio down here. So if you right click, you'll see it says sound and there's no sound. So I need to import, there it is, that into this. So I go and find my sound, which is right here. I tell it that this is a all files, so I can see my wave file. Okay. Then if you look down here, you'll see that there's a line, and then gradually you'll see like the actual wave file in there. So that's actually the audio that we had in there. So I could make more frames here. So how many frames do I need? Let's go into my movie and find out.
Do you need audio?
I don't need audio, but it definitely does help when we're previewing it, because then we can make sure our animation and our audio are lined up right. I'm going to open up my video, my source video in QuickTime. Okay, so this is the one that we sent out of After Effects. I'm opening in QuickTime because I want to be able to go basically frame by frame, and VLC and Windows Media Player don't allow me to do that. Okay, I have to basically hit play and rewind and jump. But here I can literally use the arrow keys and go between frames, and you can't do that inside the other ones. So if I go to the end, which is right there, 202, I know that I have 202 frames. Okay, now you'll see my audio gets kind of cut off about here. Inside of After Effects, this piece of video was 30 frames per second. Right there it says it. So when I come into Maya, I need to make sure that my running dude is set to 30 frames per second. And then all of this gets just reset. Right, gets reset, 202. Cool. So now if I hit play, oops, and I set this playback speed to real time, you'll see the audio actually plays like right inside my timeline. And you could do multiple things. If you were doing a voiceover, like your character is actually speaking, you can put the audio track right in there and use that to help line up your stuff. And then as you click and drag, okay, so that helps you kind of line your stuff up, and basically when he hits, it makes more sense to be in the right spot. So I'm going to create a couple objects real quick just to have something in the scene. So I'm going to animate it this way. All right, so we'll pretend that that's the punching bag. Okay, so before I do any kind of animation, I need to start building some of my stuff. So I may need to bevel some of these pieces. And they don't have to be complex, just something like that is sufficient. And maybe just a little cylinder on the bottom or something. There we go. So that kind of looks like it fits there. Okay, so now the next phases of this, I can close After Effects, is save it. There we go. The next phases of this is to go through and just start matching our stuff up. Go to where we want to start animating our character and then go to those points. So here, I don't need this to be right at that point because it kind of starts like in the middle of an action and that looks weird. So what I'm going to do is go to where he's about to hit it here. Okay, so if I rewind this to about, let's say there, 22, 23, it's kind of hard to see exactly where it's at. Then I want to start getting my character right here into that position. So that's where I can go through and use my main moving tool to kind of line him up here. And then I can start to look at what this character is doing. Now because he's behind this block, you can't really see what his legs are doing or his shoulders are doing pretty much, but we can guess. So if you have any question as to what they're doing, literally just get into the pose. So if he's about to punch it, he's going to be kind of tilted backwards. Most likely his front foot is facing forward, his left foot is facing off that way, and his shoulders are kind of square this way. And he's probably going to be turning and maybe stepping to punch the guy. So that's what I'm going to have Homer do. I'm going to have one foot facing forward. I'm going to have one foot facing sideways. I'm going to have his hips turned to the side. Like that. And this is going to be the longest part of this, is setting up these kinds of poses so that he's all in the right posture. So going back to our first character assignment where we're doing those poses, this is what we're doing, but we have to do them throughout this entire animation. And if you get good poses, then the rest of the animation is like pretty simple, because all we're doing is then blending between the poses. And this is going to be a longer process, but it gets quicker the more you do these. Which is why this is like third assignment and not your first assignment.
What was the first two then? Now there was the poses.
The poses, the walk cycle, and then this one. Okay? So again, I'm kind of looking back and forth to see what my character's doing, what this character's doing, and trying to line up each one of them. So it looks like he's in a good punching pose. Maybe this hand should be maybe twisted a little bit. Maybe the fingers here. Oops. Grab the thumb one individually and grab that. There we go. That's a horrible fist.
The reason why animators usually animate like characters, I noticed, like with 3 fingers, is that just,
What do you mean?
I don't know, like anytime I see like animation, I always feel like the characters are just made with 3 fingers. I don't know if it's just aesthetically. It's just
Oh, you're talking about like this?
yeah, like
It's just easier to see.
easier to, okay.
Yeah, because if you have too much stuff there, it's very difficult to see what's going on. There we go. So now he has a nice fist here. And you can see his knees are kind of bent. He's kind of crouched down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go to my character set. Now before we would pick on each individual one. We would go to head, upper body, or lower body. In this case, I'm going to go straight to his main one because I'm setting keys for everything. Make sure I'm at the right frame, so frame 22. And then I'm going to set my first key. So it's 120 keyframes. And then my next step is to just page through until I find the next pose. Okay? And the next pose is basically the extreme of the other pose. It's like right when he hits that thing, that's when the next pose is going to happen. So right there-ish. Okay? Because that's where his hand looks like it's mostly extended. Or right there, 38. So now I'm going to go to frame 38. And again, looking at what he would be doing. You can't be this way, and punch and end up like he is. He has to turn his body to do that. So he's either turning his hips and his torso and punching, or he's stepping forward and doing all that stuff. And at the same time, he's probably turning and moving his front foot. So that's all the stuff that we have to keep in mind. So if that's what he's doing, I need to grab all this stuff and twist his hips and move his knee locator so it stays pointing there. And move this thing over to here, over to there.
The locators are those.
At the knee?
Yeah, what is that? Is that keeping his knee straight?
Yeah, wherever that points, that's what he's aiming at.
Okay.
And then this hand's going to come back here. Oops, too far. And his head's going to be rotating, still facing this thing. And then you'll get an idea too, like, hey, he's really far away from this thing. To adjust that. And don't worry about getting everything right in the first try. You're not going to. You have to move stuff all over the place. So he really has this thing twisted. So I think his hips are like that far. And this foot I think is probably like way up here. Which means that his upper body is also like way up there. So you can see he's just really contorted right now. That's no big deal. I'm trying to get the main parts of his body to be lined up. And then I'll worry about all the other stuff. Scoot it over like that. There we go. And this hand looks like it should be down a bit more. And he's really twisted, so I want to make sure I encapsulate that in this animation. So let's say that that's good. I think his stomach could probably use a little push back a little bit. Alright, so I set a key there at 38. So now if I go here, you can actually hear him hit. Okay, so then you'll see that his hand also goes through his stomach. That's no big deal again because we'll fix that after. Your guide here is we're setting this keyframe and this keyframe and this keyframe, making sure all these main ones hit. Then we'll come back afterwards and split the difference and start tweaking things so that it looks a little bit more dynamic. So like this keyframe here, I'm actually going to probably copy it and just pull it up a little bit further and paste it. There we go. So now we have a little more power because we're hitting it. Now if we go up a little bit further, what's nice is we'll probably see the kid go back to a similar pose. Yep, not exactly. Nope, he basically goes to like a straight on pose right here. So then we would go to whatever pose is the next one. So here he hits, boom. we would go to right about here where he's starting to retract his hand. Maybe even there. And then we would animate a keyframe there, animate a keyframe where he's back here. Animate it before he starts punching, animating when it starts punching. So you're basically trying to find all these poses, all these starts and stops that this kid's doing, and that's all the poses you're going to keep setting. So throughout this entire animation, that's all you're going to do. Okay? Even when he falls down here, it's going to be that same exact thing. Now, the more keys you have, the more accurate each one's going to be. So if I set one here, and then I set one here, the ones in the middle obviously aren't very accurate. So, you know, that's where you would eventually have to come back in, get this out of here. And look at where his hand would be at frame 30. So let's say I set a key right there, pull this hand out, aim this a little bit better. Maybe pull the elbow out some. Pull this elbow out some. There we go. So now we can start to blend between these keys, and then making sure that each one of these looks like they could be happening. Right? Like here's a common mistake is that someone may take his foot here and pull it like way far back and take this and pull this way back. And let's just say we set a key there. Obviously his feet can't do this. They can't slide like that. They have to make sense. So that's why he has a little slide. That's fine. He can have a little slide. And then I can go through eventually and animate this as well. So all of this stuff here, I can group it. I can put the pivot down at the bottom. And I can animate this thing kind of wobbling too. But I would do that kind of like after he's done. I wouldn't do it right now. Okay? So I would go through and do all the Homer stuff, make sure he's lined up all the way through this entire animation. Then I would go and do this guy's animation, and then I would come in and do the dad's animation. Okay? Our priority for this assignment is we're doing one character, so if we didn't get to the bag or we didn't get to the dad, it's not a huge deal. It just makes the piece feel more complete. So that would be good enough for our animation, but then we could add the bag and the dad to have a better portfolio piece. The bag and the dad, yep. Okay? So that's going to be the process for this. The first part is finding a good video, something you're going to want to watch and listen to like a million times because that's how long it's going to take. And then getting that video into After Effects so you have a nice little timer counter on here. Bring the audio into Maya, and then you can start animating your character to it.